It's still real to me, damn it!
Now, as we all know, wrestling is supposed to make fans feel all sorts of emotions, from the happiness of Daniel Bryan winning the world title at WrestleMania 30 to the sheer devastation of Edge's initial retirement in 2011.
That I have to retire.
But these emotions aren't exclusive to wrestling fans. Over the years, wrestlers themselves have found it extremely hard to keep their emotions in check and have found themselves in an emotional place on WWE television. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 WWE superstars who couldn't hold back the tears for real on WWE television. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos. Number 1. Becky Lynch, the Raw following Money in the Bank 2020. Despite 2020 being a really negative year in the terms of world affairs, the WWE has had their fair share of positive moments. This was seen on the Raw following the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, where Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch came down to the ring to address the audience at home, saying that she had an announcement to make. She then asked the Women's Money in the Bank winner Asuka to come down to the ring. Here's when she revealed that Asuka hadn't won the Money in the Bank. She had in fact won the Raw Women's title. Becky then followed it up by telling Asuka and the audience at home that she was going to be a mom. Becky had maintained her man character up until she revealed her pregnancy to Asuka, where she completely lost it and was overwhelmed with emotion and started to cry before being comforted by Asuka. It was one of the most overwhelming moments of 2020. Number 2. Drake Maverick gets an NXT deal. The story of former 205 Live General Manager Drake Maverick is one of the more feel-good stories of 2020. As you might have known, Maverick was a part of the mass cuts WWE made to talents in April due to COVID-19. In response to the many cuts, Maverick uploaded a video where he broke down on the camera and explained how it's been his dream to wrestle in the WWE and he was nothing but grateful. The sad message went viral, with a strong majority of fans and WWE talents tweeting in support of Maverick.
He's always been like a workhorse, giving 100%. He comes in and he's radiant and he lights the room up. Say the words passion and emotion. I think he epitomises those two words. He's not going to go out lightly.
However, things weren't over for Drake at that point, as they included him in the Cruiserweight title tournament whilst wrestling as an unsigned talent. However, during the tournament, Maverick impressed the WWE so much that in the finals, Triple H appeared on stage and greeted Maverick with an NXT contract. Now, it's unclear if Maverick knew that this was going to happen, but judging by his reaction when he saw Triple H in the contract, he completely broke down and the moments of built-up emotion all flooded out at once. Number 3. Ricochet breaks down after his final NXT match. Ricochet spent a year in the NXT brand, but during his time there he had several memorable feuds with the likes of Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream, and even won the NXT North American title. It was certainly clear that his NXT run meant a lot to him and the NXT fans. However, at the start of 2019, WWE decided to call Ricochet and Aleister Black up to the main roster, meaning their time in NXT was coming to a close. Their last match would be at NXT TakeOver New York, where the two men would come up short against the War Raiders. Following the match, the two men received a standing ovation from the crowd as the two bowed in front of the audience. Now, Black maintained his dark, mysterious character and managed to contain his emotions. Ricochet, however, was unable to hold it in and burst into tears due to the love and admiration shown by the live audience. Number 4. Ric Flair breaks down after WrestleMania 24. In November of 2007, WWE began a storyline which involved Ric Flair, and a stipulation was invoked which stated that the next time Flair lost a match on WWE television, he will be forced to retire. Over the next few months, Flair beat the likes of Randy Orton and Triple H until the story culminated at WrestleMania 24. At the Showcase of the Immortals, Flair would face Shawn Michaels in a featured match which would end up being Flair's last WWE match ever. The match was acclaimed by fans as it was truly Flair's best match in at least a decade. Following the match though, Flair would sit in the ring and would begin to break down and cry with the realization that his WWE career was officially over. As the crowd erupted for the legendary talent, Flair greeted his family at ringside as the entire Flair family shared a special moment that they will remember forever. Number 5. Trish Stratus at Unforgiven 2006. In the summer of 2006, Trish Stratus decided it was finally time to retire and pursue other projects. So it was only appropriate that Trish's last match would be against arch-rival Lita in a pay-per-view showdown for the women's title in Toronto at the Unforgiven pay-per-view. To many people's surprise, Trish was actually allowed to win the match and retire as women's champion. Following the match, Trish received a standing ovation from everyone in the crowd, and even JR and Jerry Lawler stood up and showed respect for the legendary talent. Trish went from corner to corner to show respect and love to the fans before she completely broke down and burst into tears. The moment was made even more emotional when the camera cut to announcer Lillian Garcia, who was also crying her eyes out at ringside. Number 6. Xavier Woods at WrestleMania 35. The Kofi Mania storyline was one of the most acclaimed storylines that WWE has done for a number of years. The story centered on Kofi Kingston trying to overcome every obstacle to finally win the WWE title. The payoff would finally come at WrestleMania 35 when Kofi defeated Daniel Bryan to win the WWE title, becoming the first ever African-born WWE champion in company history. The win meant a lot to not only him, but the fans and other wrestlers, and most notably his New Day teammates. Following Kofi's win, the New Day celebrated in the ring with Kofi's son before Xavier Woods couldn't keep it together and let the tears flow during the special moment.
For everything this man has gone through, Kofi, it was worth it!
Woods would address the moment on Twitter shortly after Kofi's WWE title win, saying, "I've never felt emotions like this in my entire career. Kofi did it. We all did it. Tonight, a previously closed-off part of the WWE Universe realized that they can be champions too, and that representation is so much more important than people realize. Congrats, Kofi. We love you." Number 7. Seth Rollins after Roman Reigns' announcement. On October 22, 2018, Roman Reigns came to the ring to announce that his leukemia had returned after 11 years. Reigns announced that he was surrendering the Universal title and he wasn't sure when he'd be healthy enough to return. The moment was one of the most emotional and upsetting segments in the history of Raw, and Reigns somehow managed to keep his composure during the segment and not get upset. As Reigns walked up the ramp, he was greeted by his Shield teammates Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. The three did the famous Shield fist pose, and Rollins was noticeably sobbing as the emotion poured out of him on live television, just like it did out of many people at home and in the arena on that night. Number 8. Edge's retirement speech. When Edge walked to the ring 2 weeks after WrestleMania 27 on Raw, nobody knew what to expect, but the words that came out of the then world champion's mouth left fans speechless. Edge delivered an emotional speech reflecting on his career and the highs and lows of wrestling. He told the audience that he had felt numbness in his arms. He passed basic strength tests prior to WrestleMania and his match with Alberto Del Rio, but WWE had urged him for further testing, and an MRI result was now forcing him to retire indefinitely. He was diagnosed with cervical spinal stenosis, and medical professionals would not clear him to compete for risk of neck-down paralysis or even death. This naturally tore Edge apart as he broke down when delivering the shocking news to fans, and fans in the arena and across the world cried with the legendary talent who had his career cut prematurely. Luckily, this story had a happy ending, as almost a decade later, Edge would get the all clear from the doctors and would be able to finish his WWE career on his terms, making a stunning return at the 2020 Royal Rumble. Number 9. The Undertaker during Ric Flair's tribute show. As we previously mentioned, at WrestleMania 24, Ric Flair competed in his last match in a WWE ring, and naturally WWE wanted to pay tribute to one of the greatest of all time. The tribute itself would come in the form of one of the greatest segments in the history of Raw. It involved Ric Flair being endorsed and greeted by almost every member of the roster, as well as his family, whilst he stood in the ring crying his eyes out. However, one of the more famous moments of the segments occurred after the show. In a WWE.com exclusive video, The Undertaker came out to the ring, hugged the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and did his signature pose while gesturing towards the 16-time world champion. The Undertaker then stood with the rest of the roster and clapped for Flair. The Undertaker at one point wiped the tears from his eye as the emotion of the evening just got the better of him. And number 10, Vince McMahon breaks down when discussing The Undertaker. Vince McMahon has cried multiple times on WWE television. However, all of these have been with the narrative of the show and have not been down to real genuine emotion. This all changed when the WWE Network released The Undertaker: The Last Ride documentary series. It allowed us to take a look at the man behind The Undertaker, Mark Calloway, for the first time ever, as well as as The Undertaker breaking kayfabe in the series, it features many WWE stars breaking away from their character and talking as their real-life selves. In episode 2 of the documentary, the production crew asked Vince McMahon what The Undertaker meant to him. McMahon began to cry and declared, "Can't do that." It was a touching moment that showed the true connection between the two men and showed the vulnerable side of McMahon that fans have never been able to see before. But there you have it, guys. 10 WWE superstars who couldn't hold back their tears for real in the ring. We're obviously missing out the more notable ones of where superstars have passed away, but we don't want to include those out of respect. But as always, be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.